Okay. Okay, Jason, tell them what you did.
Well, I'm sorry, folks, but we started off live in the wrong place. There's only a certain little world we should be in, and we want to be in, which is the Wild Blessings with Holly Drake website, a Facebook group. And so I made the mistake, and so now we're fixed up. We should be on the Wild Blessings with Holly Drake.
Okay,
group.
Guys, I'm going to repeat what I just told
Well,
everybody.
wait a second.
What?
Let me see. Hold on.
Let me see if it works. I'll just herb around. Okay, so what I'm...
Really, wait a minute. The beginning of every class needs to have...
Oh, Max.
There's a couple of us that just need
Hi.
to say hi. So we're at the beginning, all right? And he's looking very curiously at what you're doing. So you can explain to him.
I'm herbing around. So when we were meeting at the Todd Mercantile, I always made sure that you guys had something in your hands to do when I first showed up, and I call it herbing around. And so an herbalist's hands are never not busy. So what I just did, I can't redo it, but the tea that we're making today, because we always start every class with tea, is I'm making mullein tea. And the reason why is because I'm almost out of mullein. So in order to truly befriend a plant, you want to know it at every stage of its life cycle. So this is its elder, and it's a dead sentinel or a seed skeleton. And millions of seeds were inside of this amazing, all these little rosettes. All these were beautiful yellow flowers at one point, and now they're just really hard little seed casings. And these seeds are like black pepper. Anyway, I've written a whole blog on this, so I'm not going to talk about it. Please read it. It's called Magnificent Mullein, and I love this plant. So you want to know it in every stage. This has incredible, the leaf in particular has incredible respiratory power to it. And so this is the only one I have left that didn't get in my bag. But Linda Runyon, who's my mentor, she would take her dried plant material and put it into a pillowcase. And this is called a rough grind. And she would just wring the heck out of it until it was nice and ground down. Don't forget, she didn't have any electricity or food processor or anything like that. So, all right, then you take that and you put it into, let's look at it. I'm going to go ahead and fill up my jar. You just reach in. And the reason why this is such a good plant for respiratory issues, bronchitis, pneumonia, whatever, or just a dry, hacky cough is a good thing, is... I write about it in my blog, so go ahead and read that. I got to make sure I don't talk too much or we'll never get through this class. All right, so you just fill up your jar, and then the jar is ready to go. And so I've already made my mullein tea, and so I'm going to pour some for you. I wish you were here. Whoops, I didn't pour it yet. So I'm going to pour it from, I made it in a French press like this. I'm going to pour it over the sink so I don't make a mess. Okay, so here's some for you. It has kind of a vanilla-ish flavor, and it's super delicious, and it makes, it just takes away a dry, itchy cough. This absolutely saved my parents' marriage. So my husband loves this tea as well. It doesn't even need to be sweetened. It's just so good. So that one's for you. So the other thing I'm making right now is in reference to my webinar tonight, which is on food security. My good friend Brendan Reardon is going to be teaching on growing and storing grown food. And I'm going to be teaching on gathering and storing foraged for food. So I wanted to invite you to that. It's at 8:30 tonight, Eastern Standard Time, and it'll be a Zoom webinar. So there's limited space, so if you want to join, please do. And okay, so what I do is I have a freezer that's wild. I have a pantry that's wild. I have an apothecary that's wild. I have pickled and fermented things that are all wild. So I've learned how to not only forage for and use these plants fresh, but how to preserve them into dried teas and pickles and all kinds of things. So one thing I do is I collected a lot of autumn olive berries Excuse me. And these berries are so yummy. I've got probably about a half a gallon left. But they're bright red. And right now what I'm doing is I'm making healthy almond joys. So we're going to just do a little cooking demonstration. So I'm taking off the little tiny stems that are attached to them, and because I don't really want to eat those. But the reason why I love these is they taste kind of like a cross between a raspberry and a cranberry. The seed is quite large, but it's actually the sweet part. So they're kind of tart, but I love these. And so I make fruit leather, and I make jam, and I make wine and meads and sodas. What else have I made? Gummy bears. But I love to use them just like this. So I'm pushing them into my molds. So I made little molds, and at first I put down dark chocolate and then some almonds, or if you want to be completely wild, you could use chestnuts or hickories. I love hickory nuts. And then I made a blend of coconut oil, shredded coconut, and maple syrup. And first I put the melted chocolate down, and then I put the almonds, and then I put this blend from my food processor on top of that, and then I push in the berries. Then you want to freeze it, and you want to make sure that you freeze it with all together, because if you freeze the chocolate first, the two will separate. So freeze it all together. And this is what they look like when they come out. They just pop them out, and you can see I've got my berries on there. They're 17 times higher in antioxidants than tomatoes. So I think it's like a superfood. And honestly, it's extremely invasive. I actually planted one across the street because I don't care if it takes over. It's so good for you. But they're pretty invasive. I remember driving to my brother's, and there's just miles of nothing but autumn oliveberry off of 66. Okay, so the other presentation I'm going to do before we get into our actual class, let's just talk about where we're heading with this class. So I'm going to share with you who our poem winner is. All of the poems were amazing. We're going to talk about a little bit of review. So today's kind of a catch-up and a review day and a cooking demo day. So there won't be any memory work. I won't be giving you a crossword puzzle, but I do have homework for you. And I'm just so honored to be a part of this community, and I'm so proud of the way you guys are coming up to the plate and just coming in swinging and just enjoying listening, reading your poetry and seeing your comments on Wild Blessings with Holly Drake. And we're growing, guys. And the people who are on here they're just jewels. You guys are just gems. So I'm really excited. All right, so what we're going to make now is herbal butter. And I've made a lot of herbal butter in my time, but I just want to show you because it's really simple. And let me get my wild plants out of the fridge. All right, so this is an invasive. It's wild garlic. And this is everywhere. And it actually is out all winter. I'm sure you've seen it. It's called, see if I can remember. I probably won't remember the name. Let me look it up. It is Allium. I don't know how to pronounce this. Vineage or something. I don't know. Anyway, vine with A-G-E on the end. Okay, so what you do with this is the reason why it's so incredibly invasive is it has all these little bulblets at the bottom. And it looks similar to wild onion, but wild onion has a flat blade or stem, and this has a hollow round stem. And it smells like garlic. So it's really important that you always know what it is that you're dealing with, because there are some poisonous lookalikes. In this case, if something looks similar to this, it doesn't even look like it, but if it does and doesn't have the odor, then it could be a death cama, which is potentially potentially kill you. So I'll probably do a class. I will do a class on deadly lookalikes because there's not that many of them. But the key here is, and the same thing with ramps, which we'll talk about when they come up in April, is that if it smells like an onion or a garlic, it is a wild onion or a wild garlic or a ram. If it doesn't, then it's probably a poisonous knockoff. Hold on a second. Okay, so I want to take in my butter, I want to take a little bit of lemon zest. I'm making this for a going away party tomorrow. I never go to a potluck if I don't bring something wild. So to my butter, I'm just going to add a little bit of lemon zest. And I'm going to add some salt and turmeric and pepper. And I'm going to add some Parmesan cheese. And I'm going to add some pine nuts. So then the piece de resistance is the onion. So what I love about this plant is it just is so antibacterial, it's antibiotic. Hold on, I can blow my nose. And it's just super, super, super healthy and nutritious, has antioxidants in it. So, I mean, heck, and it's free. So I foraged for it. There's a lot of dirt around the bulblet, so it took a lot of cleaning. Anyways, then you can use these cool scissors, and I bought these at Amazon. I've had them for years. So you just take a little bit and just see how it cuts all five at once like this, or you could just use a knife. But I absolutely love my scissors. So I'm filling this up, probably maybe a quart of a cup worth of the wild onion or the wild garlic. Allium, I don't know how you pronounce it, but Rosalie de Flore, who's another one of my mentors, told me that if you don't know how to pronounce a botanical name, then just do it with confidence. So we'll call it Allium vineage, or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to continue getting some more of that. But do you see these bulbs? So the bulbs, I'm actually going to cut off and put them into my salad just like they are. I'm making a pasta salad. So I'm going to save these over here for putting with the pasta. And while you are here, I'm going to go ahead and boil the pasta noodles so that you can see it all finished. Okay, and I'm going to set the timer for 7 minutes. And then I'm going to move this mess away. Well, actually, I need to make a bigger mess. Okay, so there's all of my ingredients, and I'm just going to work it together. And then you take a piece of saran wrap or pasta wrap or something and just roll it into a log and then freeze it. So right now in my freezer I have lots of different herbed butters, and you can do them with lots of different flavors. In the summer you can use ramp later on when that comes, and you have instant garlic butter, and it's so good for you and so delicious. Then you just put it over fish or chicken or put it into your pasta, and it's so simple. If you want it sweet, you could add cinnamon and sugar and autumn olive berries or whatever rings your chimes. It's just nice to have this ready to go. So like I don't even have to flavor this pasta. It's already going to be ready to go. And I'm only going to use a little bit of it. So, okay. I think you get the idea. This has the pine nuts already in it. It has the Parmesan cheese already in it, the salt and the pepper, and the turmeric. And I'll give you a bunch of other recipes in the comments section. Or actually, I'm doing a whole thing of it on my website, so you can check it out there. So that'll be frozen. So let me wash my hands, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we talked about, I told you one of my exciting things that I found out this week is that Rosary Shepherd and Eric Conover, which are Linda's son and his partner, they are letting us have 10% off everything of the field this month until March the 1st. So if you write Holly 10 for 10% off, Holly 10, when you contact them at ofthefield.com, they'll give you 10% off of their already low prices, which are going to be raised in March because they have never raised their prices after all these years, but they need to because their expenses are more, and they've just upgraded, or they will be upgrading in March, or they have been, but it will be launched in March, their website. So go to ofthefield.com and get Linda's materials. She is the best. So another thing I wanted to announce to you is that the winner of our poem this week is going to get this book by Linda, Eat the Trees. So we've been talking about seeing trees in winter, and this is such a treasure. This book is amazing. I told the story last week. Hold on a second. Okay. So in review, our first week was pine, and we talked about, the verse was, "Great are the works of the Lord, they are studied by all who delight in them. Splendid and majestic are his works. He has made his wonders to be remembered." And so I think as the more we study the things that he's created, the more we want to know. I mean, our bucket list just grows. So I'm just so intrigued by pine, and it was just such a fun study. So I hope you all did that and I had a crossword puzzle for you on that as well, and I hope you've been eating pine. Okay, the other thing, the next week we talked about seasonal living and just seizing the season and making the most of rhythms that are in our lives. And the verse was Genesis 8:22. It says, "While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease." And so those rhythms are put into place, and we are so wise when we get into sync with God's rhythms. I was thinking this week about how important our heart even is an example of, it just faithfully, regularly beats even, and we count on that. And when it doesn't, and there's an arrhythmia or whatever, it's just weird and wrong, and you can't really operate well. And so going with the rhythm, or like in an orchestra or a band, if everybody was in perfect harmony and rhythm, and watching the conductor, and yet the drummer's over there with a completely different beat and just banging away, or any of the instruments, it would just be noise. And so getting into the groove and getting into the sync of living well and living with the seasons, even with the weekly seasons. So like on Sundays, I've started just for these last couple of weeks actually doing a Sabbath. And so I won't actually be, if you don't hear from me on Sunday, it's because I'm not on the computer. And I'm just having it as a day of just enjoying my husband and enjoying this mountain and Max and reading and just being resting, because it's super important. So I hope you're doing that. I hope you guys have been seizing that. Then the next week we talked about seeing trees. And so I gave you the assignment of finding every tree on your property and just getting a couple of its twig stems. And you don't have to identify them. You don't have to know what they are. It would be cool if you could figure it out, and you will, because you will know them by their leaves and by their fruits. So I'm excited. I went out this week and I cut down a chestnut branch just to see what that looks like. I don't have one on my land. I wish I did. But it was really fascinating to look at their terminal buds and the leaf scars. And I also cut a hickory, not a hickory, a black walnut, which I also don't have. And that was fascinating to look at. So this week for our homework, we're not going to be doing a poem. We're going to be doing a craft. And I want you to be thinking about it as I talk with you, because the craft will be anything having to do with winter nature scraps. So that'll be fun. So I'll give you some examples of that at the end of class. All right, so what else did I want to tell you? Oh, I have this book. We were talking about seeing trees. And this is a book on seeing trees, and it's absolutely amazing. And it gets into just a few of them, but I mean, look at the detail it gets into. This is a tulip poplar, and look at that little leaf coming out. It looks like a valentine folded along its midrib. Isn't that cool? And they're so, so, so tiny, and then they get to be so gigantic. And it'll actually show the flowers and the whole process. The woman is just such a great writer, so I really recommend this book as well. Okay, so let me get my pasta. Or Jace, would you take care of the pasta and see if you could just get it drained out and then make sure it's al dente? Okay, so let's look and see what we've done. So we had our tea. I told you about Linda's books. I also wanted to tell you that Rachel Goclawski is an expert on mushrooms, and I'm not. And so if you want to learn about that, she's part of our group here at Wild Blessings. So Rachel, I'm so honored that you would join and become part of this community, but she's going to really help us with that. And she's got a YouTube channel, which is incredible. And she doesn't just do mushrooms, she also does edible plants. So you can learn a lot from her, and I will give you the link to her YouTube channel down below in the comment section. Okay, and then I showed you how to make the almond joys and the herbal butters, and we talked about the Allium vineage and the autumn olive berries. And I told you about my food security webinar. That's tonight at 8:30, so it's on Zoom, and the Zoom link will be, I'll make sure you guys know what that is. And I really hope you can come. I don't want to speak to myself. And then we're talking about rhythmic living. And so part of rhythmic living is the hiking habit and putting that into your daily routine. So I hope you all have found one. If you have, please comment below if you found a place to just observe nature as it unfolds. Also, sit spots was another assignment. If you found a sit spot, a good place to just watch things happen, watch buds burgeon and open up with the leaves would be a sit spot. Okay, so the winter, all of your poems were amazing. I love them, and these were the poems on seeing trees. And so this one is by Brook Brown. So congratulations, Brook. I loved all your poems, but listen to Brook's poem called The Woods. Do you hear that faint whisper? It's the echo of what was once there. My place of childhood adventures, protection, and comfort, the place I shared with my children until they too moved on. I neglected you for years, and then you were gone when I desired to spend time with you again. And as I sit here missing your protection, your comfort, your smell, I search for the gems you left behind. A slow, swaying dance with the wind, the song of birds, the promise of growth still to come. Wow. That's beautiful. It's actually kind of sad, though. I mean, she had this gorgeous forest right behind her house that wasn't her land, but it was where she played as a child, and then where her kids played as children. And so it was clear-cut. And so now she's got a view of the mountains, which I can relate to that, but those trees are gone. And so I think that's a really poignant poem, hun, and I can relate. I've had 2 of my forests completely clear-cut, and it's always such a heartbreaking thing. So thank you for sharing that, and I will be sending you Eat the Weeds. Or actually, since you're local, I'll just mail it to you, or I'll just give it to you in person. Wow, that's beautiful. So that brings me to sit spots. So I'm praying that you have found one, but I'm going to tell you a new homework assignment that I recommend. Everything is optional, but the more you do, the more you embrace God's creation, the more you will find restoration for your soul, for your body, for detoxing of just all of the technical things that we're a part of, technology. So this week, the winner of making a nature craft will get this little journal. And the reason why I recommend a journal is because this is something you should have in your backpack, which is This is my backpack, and we'll do a whole class on what's in my backpack sometime. But this is my journal that I've been writing in for a long time. And so if you've ever enjoyed the things I write about on Facebook, it's because I've written it first in my journal. And you know what? It could become part of the books and the blogs that I write as well, which is pretty fun. So here's something that I had written about the wind. Each whisper of the cooling wind on my face I will know is God loving me. I bless myself with eyes to see the good of God in the land of the living all around me and towards me. And I will listen to the Lord sing to me in the bird, the winds, and the sounds all about me. So I know it's not profound or anything, but it's just I was listening to the wind and thinking, that is God just blowing his breeze across my face or playing with my hair. Listening, using all your senses. Nature has a way of awakening all of your senses. The warmth and of touch, and then the sound of the birds. And right now it's still pretty quiet. All we hear are pileated woodpeckers or crows around here, and sometimes a hawk. But most of the time, we're just waiting for those songbirds to come back, and that'll be exciting because those are just God singing his love to you through his creation. So I'm going to be giving this journal away. And the other thing I wanted to recommend with the journal is to write down and keep track of all of the gifts that God gives you in his creation. And just ask the Lord for eyes to see evidences of his love all around us, because it is all about love. So I'm going to tell you a story about my dog, Skipper. This is my son, Jonathan, when he was probably 16 or 17. And Skipper was my faithful companion before Max for a long time. I guess we had him for 14 years. But anyway, Skipper ran away to die. And he was old, and he was having a hard time with his legs, and especially his rear carriage. And so I was just devastated because I wanted to be with him. I knew that the times were short. In fact, just the week before he ran away, a couple of his teeth came out, and I saved them, like you do. And anyway, so I made a reward sign, help me find my collie, and there, so I went all up and down 194, and I met neighbors I had never met before, and I handed out my flyer, and I posted it on barns, and I hiked for hours every day for 3 days. And then finally, I'm hiking up on top of Peaceful Acres Mountain, and there the Lord just kind of caught my attention to look down at this piece of bark. So I picked it up, and there was a collie snoot. And it's got his little eyes, and he always had this kind of, he's not like Max. Max is just like, what do you want to do next, Mom? Max, Skipper would kind of look at you like, what have you done for me lately? He had kind of an attitude about him, but I loved him. And then his little licorice lips and his long snoot and his nostril right there. And it just blew my mind. It was like, wow. And the Lord just impressed on my heart, this is for you. He's gone. I've got him. He's gone. And you need to just go home and get some rest and just be grateful for the years you had with him. So I'll post some pictures of Skipper below, but he was really precious to me. So if I hadn't been outside, if I hadn't had, of course I was seeking for him, but he and I would go all over these mountains together, and so dogs need to be outside as well. And I think it's sad when dogs are indoors all the time, and it's not healthy for them or for us. So when you go on your hiking habit, take your puppy with you. So that was my love story. And ask God to open your eyes for the gifts he has hidden for you in plain view. Kind of like, I don't know, an Easter egg hunt or something. I was like, Lord, what do you have for me today? And my whole house is filled with things like that, much to my husband's chagrin. So you can write those things in here. And it could be something like the sighting of a deer or Canada goose, or, just anything that is unusual, snake skin or whatever, a gift. So I think that would be a real blessing if you added that to your sit spot to write a journal. So somebody will get this, and I'm excited about that. So we talked about the winter rust and the hiking habit, the sit spot, and how that, just being in nature stimulates all 5 senses, and then the journal, looking for eyes to see and ears to hear, and personal gifts from your creator. Okay, then that's the winter pause, and we'll talk about the winter work. So I've been working quite a bit because I can sense nature is, oh my gosh, here's Jason's telling me who's there. Hi, Andrea. Hey, Tristan. Hi, Clara. Oh my gosh, I love you guys. Hi, Elias. Hi, Molly. Hi, Jody. Hi, Karen. Oh, that girl. Okay, and Cheryl, so glad to see you. Barbara. Jordan, my son, my word. Okay, Susie. Thank you for sending your poem right under the wire. It was amazing. Did you get your seats, hon? Okay, and then Rachel. Oh, Rachel's there. She's our mushroom queen, so she's the one I'll be giving you her YouTube channel below, because I have not mastered that yet. And then Kimberly. Kimberly, I loved your poem, honey. That was amazing. Okay, so those are the ones that are online, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being there, because it kind of feels weird to just be talking to my phone. Okay. Whew, so how much time do we have left? Okay, we have a little bit of time. So let me go ahead and make this pasta so you can watch me pull it off, and then we'll talk about winter work, because there's work to be done, but it's all fun and exciting, and you need to be intentional about it so that you're ready to go. Okay, so let me get my noodles. I'm going to pour them back into my pot, which is now cooled off. I'm doing this for a going away party tomorrow. And I'm going to go ahead and use what I just made. So I'm going to cut up the butter and work it right in. Oh, it looks so good. So for the actual salad, I'm going to go out and collect some mustard and some chickweed, and add that to just regular lettuce from the store, because there's not enough out there to get a ton of it right now. And then I'm going to cut up some chicken that I cooked last night with elderberry capers and with autumn olive berry. So it'll be kind of a chicken pasta salad. And I like to just kind of challenge myself to add as many wild things to regular food as possible. So here all I've got is wild allium or wild garlic. But with the chicken, I had the elderberry capers, which I'll teach you how to make later when they're out. And I had the autumn olive berries. So, and I also added the little bulbs. So I'm going to go ahead and put those bulbs in here now for a little bit of crunch. And a lot of vitamin C in this wild garlic as well. There is never an excuse to have scurvy if you know what kind of wild things are out there. I've been studying barberry, and we'll talk about that next time. Unbelievable medicine. It has berberine in it, Berberis vulgaris. All right, so that looks pretty darn amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in this bowl so I can show you. Wow, that looks perfectly seasoned. So I'll probably put some little nettle pieces in here and stuff just to add the green, or maybe just even take some fresh garlic and cut it up on top of there so that you can see more of it. But that's really yummy. Jace, you can have some for lunch if you want. Okay. So before we get into winter work, I forgot to tell you about another homework assignment. So I don't know if you can see over here. I'll just take it off. But these were our scriptures. And our scripture for last week was, he led her into the wilderness, and there he spoke to her heart. And I looked it up in another translation. I like it even better. It said, he led her into solitude, and there he spoke to her soul. So solitude, wilderness, it doesn't have to be a desert. It can be the mountains. It can be the city. It just be a place where you get away from your daily duties. So what I did is I made posters, and it has our verses on it for each of the verses we've learned so far. And so I recommend, I'll give them to you in a PDF, printing them out on cardstock, and then putting on them the plants as we learn about them right onto your cardstock, onto your poster. So here's an example of a wild ID bag that I made for last year, and I've labeled what all of the plants are on there. These are early spring greens. So these are going to become more and more beautiful as time goes on. Yes, Jace?
If you would tilt them downward, that way the light, the glare, so they can see better.
Okay, can you see that, guys?
It just keeps the glare. Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Yeah. I've made hundreds of these bags, but these are going to be a great way to just keep track. So if y'all do this, it will just be so much fun. I'm going to teach you just really quickly how to do that. So you want to get packing tape like this, and I like to cut off pieces of it and stick it on my toaster oven so it's all ready to go, because once you're working with the plant, you don't want to get your hands dirty, because you don't want the tape dirty. So just cut off a bunch of pieces and have them all ready to go. And I don't have any plant material here, so I can't actually do this right now, but I can do a video of me doing it. So that's just like that. And then make sure you put a rubber band or something on here to keep it so that you can get it up again easily, because it's such a pain to get up. So that you can get these if you want, and then print them out, and this would be a great part of your notebook to review your scriptures. So this is the one, he led her into the wilderness, and there he spoke to her soul. And so let your time in nature be a time where you just observe his handiwork, because the scriptures say, since the beginning of the world, his invisible attributes, his divine nature, and eternal power have been clearly seen, being understood through what he has made. So all of these incredible mysteries and the things that just open up your soul and your spirit to the one who made you can be unlocked through his creation. And don't forget to also use your jeweler's loupe, because that will help you to have eyes to see the amazing detail, or the attention to detail, and his playfulness with his creation. Okay, so that's winter rest. So let's talk about winter work. All right, so I've been sitting at my sit spot and thinking, well, actually, Max started me on it, because he dug a hole. Like, this hole is this deep. And I posted a picture of how filthy he got, and of course he got a bath. But I thought, well, every time he digs a hole, I always plant something in there. So I thought, well, what should I plant there? So I'm in the process now of revamping my sit spot. I went up to the top of Peaceful Acres Mountain, and I got a ton of rocks yesterday. I'm going to edge the new part of the garden that I've created. I dug up a bunch of the weeds and the grass that's there so that I could create a new garden. And then last night I took Mom's peace rose, which was hers in New Jersey, and then she had it a mile away when they lived at Peaceful Acres, which I brought back here. But it was just not being looked at where it was. And so I want to look at it, and I want to smell it, because it's one of those roses that smells amazing. So I put it right next to where I sit. And so I'll show you the process of my sit spot being transformed into something even more beautiful than what it was. So let your sit spot be a place where you can do some work as well and watch things that you want to see growing up. And I've spread tons of wild seeds and stuff around there as well. So that's kind of fun. So that's one thing that I've done. Then another thing is Jason got the weed whack out, and we have an acre, and so the backyard is trees, a lot of poplars and birch and hickories, like shagbark hickories, and there's witch hazel and elm and all kinds of trees. So the saplings, the maples, they're all coming up. There's oaks back there. And I don't want little tiny saplings. I want a mature forest. So this is the time of year to get your weed whacker out there or your clippers and just clip every single seedling or sapling that you do not want to grow, because it will take away nourishment from the trees that you're trying to mature. Do it now, because back there I've got black cohosh, blue cohosh, I've got trilliums, I have Solomon seal, I have baneberry, I have ginseng, I have Violet, I have so many amazing plants in my deep backyard that grow in a forest, but I don't want them to be weed whacked. And so they're still cozy, they're still tucked down under the soil. So if you wanted to do something like that, do it now. Another thing that I've been doing is ripping up the blasphemy vine. They're smilax, they're those green cat briars that they're called blasphemy vines because, let's just face it, you have to curse when you're ripping them up because they're just, they get up in the tree and they choke the trees and so like I would pull and pull and pull and pull, and all of a sudden it would just let go and I'd fall on my butt and be like, ugh. So I hate blasphemy vines, but they're really tasty. So we'll talk about that in a different class. And they also have testosterone in their roots, another class. However, this is a good time to get rid of them because they're green and they stand out like a neon light amongst all of the kind of monochromes of winter. So get rid of them if you want to protect your trees, but you want to have access to them for when you're hungry. And we'll talk about that in another class. So that's another thing you can do for winter work. Another thing you can do is prune, and this is the time to prune because whatever you want to grow, that's what you want to prune. How much time do we have? Okay, I've got time. I'm going to read you this. This was in my quiet time the other day. I love this book. It's called Streams in the Desert. Cindy, hi Cindy. Nancy. Oh my gosh, Jamie's here. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to see you all. Okay, so this is so good. I was reading this. It seems like every day that I read something, it is absolutely exactly what I need. But I didn't mark this, so I don't know if I'll be able to find it. We'll see. I suppose I could try to relate it, but it won't be near as good. Oh, here it is. Every branch that does bear fruit, God prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. John 15, verse 2. Whew. So, who likes to be pruned? Not me. A child of God was once overwhelmed by the number of afflictions that seemed to target her. Can you relate? I can relate. This year has been a bear. Okay, but as she walked past a vineyard during the rich glow of autumn, she noticed its untrimmed appearance and the abundance of leaves still on the vines. The ground had been overtaken by a tangle of weeds and grass, and the entire place appeared totally unkempt. While she pondered the sight, the heavenly gardener whispered such a precious message to her that she could not help but share it. The message was thus: "My child, are you questioning the number of trials in your life? Remember the vineyard and learn from it." The gardener stops pruning and trimming the vine or weeding the soil only when he expects nothing more from the vine during that season. He leaves it alone because its fruitfulness is gone and further effort now would yield no profit. In the same way, freedom from suffering leads to uselessness. Do you now want me to stop pruning your life? Shall I leave you alone? And then her comforted heart cried, "No." It is the branch that bears the fruit that feels the knife to prune it for a larger growth, a fuller life. Though every budding twig be trimmed and every graze of swaying tendril, springing leaf may lose its place, O you whose life of joy seems left with beauty shorn, whose aspirations lie in dust, all bruised and torn, rejoice though every trial, each desire and each dream, each hope of thine will fall and fade. It is in the hand of love divine that holds the knife that cuts and breaks with tenderest touch, that you, whose life has borne some fruit, might now bear much. That's Streams in the Desert. I will give you the link to that because we've had some serious trials, and honestly, I can see God's wisdom in all of them. So, if you want to live a fruitful life, the master gardener knows how to prune and what might be beautiful but not fruitful, what needs to go, and you know, it's not pretty when you prune, but it comes back, and it comes back with such life and such vibrance, and so that's exciting. So pruning is this time of year, and the reason why is if you prune it in the cold, the tree will close up the gap so much faster because it's trying to protect itself. And so like with pine, the sap will come, and that's just the tree healing itself. In the summer, it can cause bugs and insects and predators to come in to the wounds and actually cause more damage. So this is the time to prune. Okay. Oh my gosh. So now this one is amazing. This is the time of year to get rid of invasives, especially toxic invasives. And this is called Groundsel. And let me see if I can pronounce the botanical name. It is called Senecio glabellus, I guess. All right. This plant is unbelievably invasive. It just takes over. And you'll see them in just like whole backyards, whole fields. Beautiful yellow daisy-like flowers. They're in the Asteraceae family, the Compositae family. I don't know which one is which. It used to be one and now it's the other. So I say both. What it means is that it goes to puff. So the seeds are like a dandelion. The flower looks kind of daisy-like. And they open and close and open and close, and then they blow away. So they're wind-borne to send their seeds, and they also grow with their rhizomes, which are quite tenacious and long. So this is the time to get rid of it. Dig it up, put it in the trash. Just get rid of it because it's got pyrrolizine alkaloids, PAs, an abnormally large amount of PAs, which can cause irreversible liver damage. So it can be very dangerous for cattle, it can be dangerous for horses, and even though it's got these beautiful little yellow flowers, it's not worth it. You can't eat it, and it's actually dangerous.
So what's that invasive plant name again?
This is called Groundsel. Okay, or Senecio whatever. I'll write it out for you. All right, what's really funky about this is it smells like lemon pledge. It's kind of a look-alike to violets. Not really. So let me explain what the leaf looks like. So it has a scallop. It looks like it had scallop shears that went around the margin, little scallops. And on the other side, some of them are absolutely purple. These are the flower stalks coming out, and it's got a lot of purple to it. Some of the leaves have complete purple on the other side, very waxy, and it smells like lemon pledge when you break it with your fingers. The other funky thing about it is, look at the shape of this leaf. Isn't that normal? It's just a simple leaf. Look what happens to it as it matures. It develops into this. Can you show this one, Jace? So it's also called cress leaf because of that little cress look to it. So it just kind of changes, and I think that's kind of fun. So I've enjoyed looking at them. I think they're beautiful, but I'm determined. So I've been digging it up like crazy, and I only put this in a pot not so I can gift it to someone, but so that I could show it to you. And then this is going to go in the trash, and I'll save the soil. When you save soil, make sure that there's no roots or bulbs from something you're trying to get rid of in the soil. So make sure you sift it well so you can use it in transplanting other plants that you want to keep. So eradicating the nasties. So getting rid of the blossoming vine this time of year because it's green and it sticks out. Getting rid of the groundsel because you sure as heck don't want it. It's a good thing though to really look at it so you really know what it is you're getting rid of. Okay, and then we talked about, over here, this is the good time of the month actually to plant bulbs. So I bought these beautiful, these are called blue sea holly, and I'm going to be planting these this week, probably next to Mom's rose bush. And look at these beautiful hollyhocks. And so I'm going to put these next to my bird feeder out at my sit spot. So I'm going to make my sit spot a place where birds really want to come, and I'll talk about that in a different class. All right, so your homework assignment is to print out, there's 4 things. You want to print out your posters, which I'll give to you. you want to start a journal. Hopefully one of you will get one of these. And what else did I want you to do? So the posters, there's no scripture this week, so try to learn the ones that I've already taught you. And we'll be learning quotes as well. Begin your nature journal. So it's those three things, the poster and then the nature craft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some of my crafty friends come over and work with me, and we're going to take all of the branches, which I've collected on the back porch. I've got these beautiful red Japanese maples, and we're going to make a winter branch wreath, and it's going to be amazing. And I've already sent you a link to a woman who did that, and it was just glorious. So I think I'm actually going to make mine to be kind of more instructional. So it has all of the different terminal leaf buds from all the different trees that are on my property. And it might not look as pretty, but it'll be educational. Or you could make a seedscape, and it all has to just be with nature craft or nature scraps from winter. So all of these little twigs, and there's, I found some, what did I find? What is that called? Honeycomb, bark, little, there's more bark from birch, acorns, cones. This is little birch nut husks, whatever. Just make it however you'd like it to look, and or you can do anything. And so I know that you guys are the most creative people, and so I'm going to miss your poems. You can do a poem if you prefer, but you can, or you can do a nature craft. So I will you're going to post a picture of it on Wild Blessings with Holly Drake on our private group page. And then you're going to also write what plant material you used. And if you don't know what it is, you can say, hey, Holly, or hey, guys, what is this? And we can tell you. So that'll be so much fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Okay, in closing, I can't tell what time it is. I've got 5 minutes. Okay. The other work that I'm doing is the transplanting. So this is a good time to transplant because all of the energy is still in the roots, and you don't want to mess with plants when they're trying to grow. And so this is a good time to do that if you want to transplant some things over to your sit spot or mix things around a little bit. That would be great. All right. I wish you could be here and we could enjoy some autumn olive. As you can see them on the other side, they're super tasty. Jason, you want to try one and tell them what you think?
Not yet. I think I'll wait till after
lunch. And do you want some of that pasta to try that out?
That sounds good.
Okay.
I'll put in a personal testimony too, though, about the chicken piccata last night. And let me suggest to you that when you add some of the special, berry type items that she did, the autumn olive berries and the capers.
Yeah, I've got the capers right here. Woo!
That's another good example of how you can harvest a plant like the elderberries during a good time of the year, of course, when those seeds are ready to be picked.
I don't know where it is.
And then she can teach you how to make them into capers, and they really make a tremendous difference in that dinner, the chicken piccata.
Yeah, they do.
So I'll just add that to my own personal endorsement, culinary endorsement.
Yes.
But I'll wait and have these after lunch today.
Okay. Jason's been working really hard to help me with this webinar tonight and with my website, which I'm trying to upgrade and breathe life into it. It's been sitting there for so long, thanks to Facebook. I would post things there and not write. But I'm trying to write, and you guys are my motivation because you're my audience, and writing with you all in mind means the world to me. So I'm really thankful that you could be a part of this class with me, and I hope you're being blessed as well, because I've certainly been blessed by you. Meet me tonight at 8:30. I'll give you the link, and we're going to be talking next week about why eat wild foods, which is a webinar that I've done, or it's a presentation I've done at 4 different churches and at the library twice, and it's probably one of the best talks I've ever given, and that'll be next Tuesday at our class. So that'll be a completely different class. I'll just be sitting at my computer with a PowerPoint and taking you through the economic, the health the well-being and the gardening reasons why I forage. And then I think a lot of pictures you'll see, and you'll learn a lot and be really motivated to take on creation and enjoy all that's been given to us of the riches at our feet, free for the knowing and the picking. So I hope this wasn't too disorganized. Love you guys. Thanks for joining me, and looking forward to seeing you tonight. Bye.